Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you who are joining us from many different parts of the world. Thank you for joining us and welcome to this webinar called the Step by Step, the Higg FEM Verification Trail. So we from Leadership and Sustainability have the honor to be your guide for today. And this is going to be the first of the series where we will take you in depth into the different sections on the Higg FEM, the environmental module. Please let me introduce our organization to you. So Leadership and Sustainability is spearheaded by Karen Ekberg. She has a very long experience in the sustainability area. She has previously been with Adidas as well. And Leadership and Sustainability now is more than 6 years old. We have been completing different projects focused on environmental improvements in the apparel sector. And we very much look forward to spending time with all of you today discussing the supply chain management with Higg FEM. A brief background about myself. I'm a textile technologist with over 20 years of experience in the textile safety and in the consulting domain. I'm a lead auditor for 14001 and 45001. I have been also active as a climate action plan assessor and a sustainability awards assessor with the CII in India here. I'm also currently a member of the ZDHC Academy Steering Committee. And with Leadership and Sustainability, I work in the capacity of a Higg FEM trainer and a verifier, a BPI consultant, a ZDHC trainer, and as a BRM verifier. We have been involved very much in improving sustainability initiatives for different organizations all over the world. Before we start out, let me just please, give you a small background. All of the slides that would be shown here, some of them are copyrighted by the Sustainable Apparel Coalition and with Leadership and Sustainability. As we go on to show you the how we can use the controls as we interact with each other today, we will be using this Zoom platform. So during this webinar, the audience would be muted in order to ensure best audio quality. Please feel free to send us questions during the presentation via the Q&A function and not the chat function. Before we start out, I would also like to reconfirm that you are all able to hear me well. Could you please put the fact that you are able to hear me well on the chat function? Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, so this is where you would need to type in your questions into the Q&A function that you will see in the bottom of your screen. And you can just click and we will ensure that all of the questions that are being put into the question function are being answered. And in a follow-up mail, we will be providing you with a link to the recording of this webinar, as well as a link to download the presentation from this webinar. So please be rest assured you will receive this. And as we go ahead, let us take a look at the agenda for today. We will be looking at the verification trail and its purpose. We would also like to introduce the SAC Higg FEM to all of you, some of you who might be looking at this for the very first time. We will actually, in today's module, go into section 1 and section 2. Section 1 is on the facility info and permits, and section 2 is on the environmental management system. So these are the two modules that we will cover in depth in today's webinar. We will also be giving you a small brief about our training and verification proposal, and also a small brief about leadership and sustainability and our entire team. So that is the agenda for today. And let us start off with the verification trail and its purpose. So the purpose of the verification trail is to give you a better and deeper understanding of the Higg FEM and its meaning also for your own facility. So there will be section-wise guidance that is done through the entire process. And it is also in order to make you acquainted with all of the requirements from the Higg FEM. So these are the different sections, what you see here, what we would be covering also in our webinar series. And in today's section, we will be covering facility info and permits and the environmental management system. Before we start out, let me give you a small introduction to the SAC Higg FEM. So as a sustainability assessment tool, the Higg FEM measures and benchmarks your facility performance holistically. And it basically helps you to harmonize all of the standards and functions and gives you a concrete example of how you would be able to communicate your commitment to sustainability to your different stakeholders. If we look at the different tools that are there in the Higg FEM, in the Higg Index, you have the Higg brand and retail tool. This is mainly for brands, and it is at a high level to understand the systems that are in place for the brands and how they will align in the supply chain. You have for the facilities, the tools on the facility environmental module and also on the facility social and labor module, that is your Higg FSLM. So these are for all of your social practices. The FEM are for all of your environmental practices. And apart from that, there are also product tools. So you have the Material Sustainability Index, which is the Higg MSI, and you also have the product module. And here we have given an example of a previous webinar which was done, which was very, very insightful. It was on how the Sustainability Higg Index fits into your sustainability strategy. It is an old webinar, but it is a very, very relevant webinar even for today. So I would encourage you to please go into this session and check it out. And here, let us take an overview of what the Higg FEM is before we go into the details. It's basically an online self-assessment tool for all of your facilities. And as you have seen before on the trail, the FEM is basically divided into many different sections. So this is what you see here, the sections in the Higg FEM. So at the beginning, you have, when you are entering into the Higg FEM, the details, you have the applicabilities. So this basically screens out the questions which are irrelevant for the organizations. And the factory would only then require to respond to those questions which are applicable for that facility. For example, if you are not having any kind of wet processing in your facility, then those kind of questions will not be posed to you. Again, you have levels. You have levels from 1 to 3 on the base, and the scoring is on the basis of the questions that you answer. You have to answer all of the questions in level 1 before you are able to go into level 2 and 3 questions. And also there are annual cycles. So in terms of the annual cycles, you have to respond to your self-assessment by the 30th of April if you want to take part in the benchmarking. The verification can be done anytime between January to December 31st of a particular year. And in Higg FEM, when we are reporting all of the values in Higg FEM, we have to report the values from Jan to December of a particular year. And self-assessment has to be completed by the deadline, which maybe your brands would be advising you on the deadline by which you would require to complete the verification. The self-assessment on the platform, it is the 30th of April, which is the deadline. And you can have the verification done both on-site as well as off-site. And if you are doing an off-site verification, then you would not be able to communicate your values or your results and your scores, etc., publicly. So if you would like to do that, then ideally you should have an on-site verification. And all of this guidance is given in the How to Higg guidance document here. And I would like you to, please go into this document and delve into it in detail. Coming to the verification process on how it would happen. So firstly, we would require that, we have to complete, of course, the self-assessment. This is the module that you would purchase from the Higg FEM platform. Next, you would require then to understand and engage a verifier. This is again not mandatory, but most of the brands basically require that there is a verification done for a certain a number of their supply chain partners. So you would, of course, be getting information from your respective brands as to whether you would require to undergo a verification in this particular year or not. And if you should want to go in for a verification, you would then require to provide information to the a verification body on the type of facility that you are, the number of employees that you have, how do you have chemicals in your production, what is the chemical level that you have reached, whether you have a wastewater treatment in your facility, and what is the exact location of your facility. So all of these details will be requested to you by the verification body who would be engaging with you to take forth the verification. Next, you would require to have a self-assessment and the VFEM that is available to the verifier. So here you require two modules, both your self-assessment module as well as you require the VFEM module to be purchased from the platform. So this would definitely be required for the verification. The verifier will then review all of the documents that is uploaded on the platform. He will inform you of any type of issues that are there beforehand. And the verifier then sends out the agenda ahead of the on-site visit. So we generally prepare the agenda well in advance and we share it with the facility so that they are able to prepare themselves and have the people and the team who would be required on-site ready for the verification and for also all of the interviews that will happen during the verification. Next, we have the on-site or the off-site verification, whichever is the mode that the facility has decided upon. And finally, the reporting and the posting. So when you post the module, you can share the posted module with all of your stakeholders. So this could be brands, this could be different other supply chain partners, upstream partners, downstream partners, etc. And here we have again guidance on the SAC about the verification. This is available from this link, which you would be able to download. So this is basically the 7 steps that are involved in the verification process. And before we go into the sections, I would like to also give you a small detail about how the Higg verification, Higg FEM module is scored. So you have here 3 different levels in Higg FEM. So the questions that are posed to a facility are in 3 different levels. So your level 1 are all of your tracking questions. So you have your understanding, tracking, performance, and they are valued at a total of 25 points. You can see a red line that is there. So this is basically a gate. When you say a yes or a partial yes to all of the questions that are there in level 1, then you are able to open up level 2 questions and also level 3 questions. So your level 2 in Higg FEM is scored at 50 points. So these are all of your baselinings that you will do. These are all of your target setting kind of questions that are there. What are the goals? What are the reductions? So all of that will come in level 2, and that's why it's scored at 50 points altogether. And in level 3, you have again leading questions. So these are where you have engagements with your different stakeholders, where you are going above and beyond the basic requirements that is there for an apparel facility. So that these are all of your level 3 questions in each of the sections. So this is how the scoring is distributed. And let's go into some general advice for the facilities. When we are completing the self-assessment, we should ideally appoint a person who is responsible for the facility, who is responsible for answering all of the questions in the Higg FEM. You would require this person to be well versed with how to Higg. This is the link which is given to the how to Higg, and also the verification preparation guidance which is available. So he or she should definitely be looking into both of these aspects. Respond accurately to all of the questions. You require a lot of documentation. SAC is very insistent on on the fact that all of the evidences that are provided are in a manner which can be documented and which can be shown to the verifier when he is coming on site. And if you are having an off-site verification, you can also provide some of these documentations off-site to him or her separately, but this would require to be shown to the person who is coming for the verification. For your targets and baselines, etc., you would require to, of course, indicate as to what are the targets that you have chosen, how have you set your targets, what are your baselines, which is the baseline year. And in Higg FEM, now we can also set the current year which you have started to report as your baseline year. Let's say you have not done this earlier, you can still do that. We will not talk about baselines today, but we will, of course, we can in the future modules, which we will be doing, the energy, water, waste, etc. We will be definitely talking about baselines and how you will be setting up those baselines. You would also require to be aware of the time that will be required to report on the module, because it will be at least a good 4 weeks time that you will have to allocate for completing of the Higg FEM entire module if you are starting out for the first time. And there will be a lot of data collection which will be required. And this you would require to ensure that there is a team in place who will be able to collect this data for you, record it, and keep it as a record for also all of the future years. Because we will, once you start reporting on the platform, you will always be able to see what are your values, what are your reports that you have reported in a particular year, and go back to it, maybe make corrections as and when they are necessary as we move forward, etc. So the ultimate goal here is to improve year on year on whatever is the data that you are reporting. And it is simple once we understand the fundamentals of how we have to make the reports, how we have to present the data, and how we have to improve year on year. So let's go into the first section for today, that is the facility info and the permits section. And before that, I will just go and answer all of the questions that are here. I have a question which is, will a certificate be given after the training? No, this is not a certificate enabled training. This is just a free webinar, but we do conduct a lot of sessions regularly. So should you require any kind of certificates, you can come to one of our paid trainings. And okay, I have a I have a message here saying that the chat function is disabled. Let me just check. Okay, I have enabled that you can chat with the hosts and panelists. So should you want to send in something via the chat, that is also possible. Sorry about that, didn't realize that. And any other questions so far? No, nothing else. Okay, let us go back to our presentation here. So we've come to the very first section, which is the section on facility info and permits. And here, this section is used for categorizing your facility, and it has to be completed first before all of the other sections. And one thing that we require to remember is that this section is not scored. But if we say that, we do not have a valid operating license, then the entire Higg FEM is going to be scored as 0. So that is something that we have to keep in the back of our mind. But one of the important criteria that we have to note when we are going in for the facility info completion is the fact that we have to ensure whatever is the information regarding materials that is used in the facility, the information that is being requested, all of them are reported correctly. I can see that some of you are raising your hands. I would request you to put in your questions into the question and answer function. We will not be able to enable people to be speaking in our session today. So please put in your questions into the question and answer section, and we will ensure that it is answered. Okay, let's move forward. And we have here what are some of the questions that are going to be asked in the facility info and permit section. The first part of it would be the country, the industry sector, the facility type, whether you are an apparel, footwear, mill, dye house, etc. What is the material? What are the types of material that you are utilizing in your facility? Here you would have to indicate all of the materials that you are using. For example, if you are a footwear manufacturer and you are using foams, you're using shoe uppers, etc., all of that would require to be indicated. Next, you would require to have the operating days, the total number of operating days. And here the verifier will actually ask for information from your HR team to understand whether this is the total number of operating days that you have reported for that particular year. So when we are talking about the FEM module, the 2022 module, it is from the 1st of Jan from 2022 to the 31st of December 2022. So the total number of operating days within this period is what you would require to report. The total number of employees, here again, it has to be an average number. It should not be a range that is reported. You will have to give both your full-time employees and your temporary workers who have worked in the facility. Suppose you have 3 or 4 pay ranges that you have done for a particular year. You will then have to take the total number of employees for each of those pay ranges, take an average, and then report that average. And this is the evidence, again, that you would require to provide to the verifier. You would also require to report annual volume on the platform. If you have on-site treatment, water treatment, you would require to indicate that. And also any type of industry sustainability programs and partnerships that you will have. Maybe you have, you have an Ocotec STEP certification, or maybe you have a Blue Sign certification. All of that you will be able to report in the platform and say that you have these different other engagements as well. So this is with regard to some of the questions that are asked. Let me give you some examples on annual volume calculation. When we are reporting on the annual volume, on the Higg FEM platform, we have to talk about the total amount of product shipped or sold in the last calendar year. So this is on the basis of the invoices that you would have raised from Jan to December that you will be able to report. Any quantity which has been rejected, which has been produced but not sold, but is in stock in your inventory, all of that cannot be reported on the platform as a part of your total quantity or the total amount of products that you have sold or shipped. Again, we have to select the appropriate unit. It could be meter cubed, it could be kilograms, it could be, let's say you are a complex facility where you are doing a number of different products. We also have the ability of reporting it in standard allowed minutes. Now, this is a feature which was started last year from the 2021 module onwards. And here you can actually talk about the complexity of the product. Depending on the complexity, you can report the total SAM. We will give you some examples on how you can do it. So SAM is basically stands for standard allowed minutes. It's a metric that provides an indicator of the time allowed to produce a product by the workers. So it talks about the complexity that is involved in the manufacture of a product. So here we have given two examples. One is that of a polo shirt and one is that of a V-neck shirt. So here you can have different types of processes which go into it. And you can see that a V-neck shirt is simpler than a polo shirt that can be manufactured. So the SAM here, the value of the SAM here for a V-neck shirt is slightly lower. You then have to look at what is the total number of shipped products for that particular category. And here we have again two examples. And if we have the total SAM per product, we will have to multiply the SAM per piece into the total number of products to give you the total number of total SAM per product type. And this you would need to sum for your facility for all the different products that you have actually manufactured, and then report if you are reporting in terms of SAM for a particular year. And I have activated the chat, but I would request that all of the questions are put into the question and answer section and not into the chat so that it can be answered. There is one question here which has come in, which is, so in the question of the facility type, a yarn dyed woven finish factory will consider mill. I'm sorry, would you be able to kindly reword this question so that it is clear? So a yarn dyed woven finish factory will, it is, if you have to be considered as a manufacturing unit, you can be considered as a manufacturing unit. You have different options that are there on the platform that is given. So I will come to that when we are looking at the options there. And let me just check if there are any other questions before we proceed. So this training file, yes, it will definitely be shared with all of you. All who have registered will get an access to it. Why is Higg in calendar year based, as most of the facilities are making their targets and improvements on fiscal year? Yeah, good question on that. Basically, in the FEM module, it is Jan to December data that we have to report. And this is this has been decided by the Sustainable Apparel Coalition in conjunction with all of the brands that they have partnered with. And if there are suggestions, for example, in the BRM module, there has been an acceptance of the fiscal year data as well. But currently in the FEM, there is no acceptance of data if it is reported in the fiscal year. If you are maintaining physical year documentation, it is fine, but you will still have all of the data from Jan to December, which you will require to report. So if you are already doing all of your target settings, then this should not be a major deal. So thank you, Aisha, for that question. And here I have another question from Akanksha. If we have a new unit which was operational only for 1 or 2 months for 2022, how do we do the reporting for that unit? In such a case, you will have to then make a decision on whether you want to report for the calendar year 2022 or not. You can directly start your reporting from the year 2023. So this is how you would be able to start on the reporting. And may I know why only count the amount shipped but not produced? Yes, this is again a requirement from SAC on how we report onto the platform. So that is what all of the verifiers will actually check, whether you are reporting the total shipped pieces as per the invoices that you have generated in a particular year, Jan to December of that particular year. Next question is, how can we ensure the accuracy and completeness of our data when we collect manual? Yes, for this, you would require to have the responsible personnel who are allocated for the data collection, so that they are able to ensure and also ensure that there is good sub-metering within your facility, so that you are able to capture all of the data and report it accurately. So when the verifier is coming to the facility, this is basically something that he or she would be expected to check, that we go through all of the data that you are collecting, and you are able to present it in a manner which can be reviewed and verified over time. Okay, so let us go back to our module here. When we are looking at the facility annual volume calculation, here we have also provided some calculation examples. This is for hard good facilities. So Higg FEM has actually expanded their platform also to hard good facilities in 2021. And here you can see examples of how you can report the SAM of a particular article that you manufacture. The examples we have taken here is rucksack, tent, and camping table, but you can also have many different other articles that you produce as an example that you will be able to take on the platform. So here you have the total SAM per piece, what is the total shipped products, and then you are multiplying this in order to get a total SAM per product type, which you are going to add up for all the products that you manufacture. Next, let's look at some of the questions you have questions on the industry sector. That is, what is the industry sector, whether you are an accessory manufacturer, whether you are a footwear manufacturer, electronics, toys, hard goods, etc. What are the product categories which are applicable to you? And then, of course, you can report on the standard allowed minutes as a unit to annual volume. So you have your volume units, which you will report. You will report also on if you have on-site water treatment. It was previously known as pre-treatment of fresh water. And the FEM module has in 2021 also aligned all of the units of measures across all of the questions. So this is now corrected on the platform. And then we have questions on-site water treatment, whether you have pre-treatment or wastewater treatment. So ideally, if you have a good diagram that you would be able to show, then you should be uploading this. You can select the type of treatment, whether you have pre-treatment, whether you have primary treatment, secondary treatment, tertiary, etc. You can upload your facilities water treatment process flow charts and hydraulic diagrams that you have into this section. Next, we have the question on whether you have participated in industry programs related to sustainability, or whether you have sustainability related certificates valid which were for this reporting year that you are presenting the data for. How long have you been in this program, and what rating have you received is some of the questions that will be posed to you. And here, let us say you have partnered with Ocotec Step or with Blue Sign or with any of the other GOTS or with any of the other industry sustainability partners. You can report that and say that you have these certifications available. And this year, what is new in the Higg FEM 2022 module is that they have added certain certifications like BREEAM, BVE3, your country-specific green building certifications, your LEED certifications, etc. And in the guidance section, all of that has actually been also included, and you have reference links which have been provided into the module. So let's say you have a LEED certification or you have gone in for a LEED certification, you can also report that on the platform. And next we come to permits after our facility and info. For your permits, you would require to have valid operating license for your facility as required by law. And if you have any government issued environmental violation records for a particular year, you would require to report that. Your IPE database is for China only. And you would also require, different other environmental permits which are in compliance. Specifically, let us say your water permit or your water discharge permit. These are some of the common permits that are required for any type of facility operations, and this is what you would require to upload also into this section. So for your air permits, like for example, if you have a boiler on site or if you have a diesel generator on site, you would require to upload these permits as well. Your chemical permits, etc. And aspects to conform here is the fact that you should ensure that the permit is issued in the actual facility name. If you have had expansions, many a time we see that the facility has gone in for an expansion, but the expanded units, they might be adjacent to each other, but there are no permits that are available. So this should not happen. So you should have the boundary and the scope of the Higg FEM very clearly defined, and it is defined as per what you will report on the FEM module. So let's say you have an adjacent facility, you either have to take a new FEM module for the adjacent facility if you're going to take a completely different section, or let us say you are expanding and you are including that in your own facility boundary, then you are expected to ensure that you have the necessary permits. Let's say there is a wastewater discharge from this new expanded unit, you will have to ensure that it is included into your permits or automatically. Validity of the permit is checked and it should be appropriate, and at the time of submission of your Higg FEM, your permit should be valid, and that this should be ensured. You should be able to show the verifier the latest permits which are valid at the time of the verification. Okay, so that is with regard to the facility environmental module. Let me just go back to our questions here. I could see that there were some more. Okay, is this an update FEM platform? If so, there is an update for not applicable question, since the verifier will note as a no answer in their assessment report. Thank you. I'm not very sure as to what you would like to mean. Yeah, there are a lot of questions where there is a not applicable that is mentioned on the platform. And if it is not applicable for you, you can definitely use this particular option. And if the verifier is coming at the facility, he will definitely be going through the entire details of whether it is a no for the facility or whether it is a not applicable for the facility. He will definitely be correcting any kind of things that you are, any kind of answers that you are putting up on the platform. Thank you. If a facility shifted from one location to another new location in the middle of the year, is it possible to complete FEM for that year? If yes, how to calculate energy, water, etc.? Okay, if you have shifted from one location to another in the middle of the year, then what you would require to do is you would require to maintain the data for both the facility where you were located earlier, as well as the change that has happened in that particular year. Of course, this would not be an ideal year for taking any kind of baselines, etc., because there have been changes. Maybe you would have taken a month or two for completing the shift in certain equipment, etc. So you would require still to maintain right from the time that you have actually started operations at the new unit until the time where you have closed the operation at your earlier unit. You would require to maintain all of the data. I hope that answers. Can I select data collection period from 2023 onwards instead of 2022? Yes, you will be able to do that if you are saying that you are using the current year as your baselining year. Then you can start off with data collection from 2023 onwards. So in the platform, you have the option where you're saying that this running year is the year where you are doing your data collection. Christina has a question on question 10 in EMS. I will then, let me complete the module on EMS and I will then answer the EMS questions. Okay, there is one more question on permit here, which is what differences between wastewater treatment permit and water discharge permit. So that will depend on the location where you are. It depends on what is the actual treatment that you are carrying out for the wastewater, and it will also depend on the local regulations. What type of permits do you require for your facility to be operational? Is OCS will consider facility participated in industry program? Yes, OCS is can also be considered. You can mention it and provide the certification. There will be no certificate that's provided for this training session. This is just a free webinar that we are doing. We have other paid webinars which you will be able to come to. How can we integrate our sustainability goals into our overall business strategy? Yes, here I would very much request you to kindly look into the webinar that was delivered a few years back, where we talked about how you can integrate and how you can align all of your sustainability goals with your business strategy. Next, we have how can we calculate annual volume in terms of SMV? I would require you to kind of reiterate that question there. Okay, let's go into our environmental management system. And here we have, again, questions in 3 different levels. In our environmental management system, we have 6 questions overall in our level 1. We have 2 questions in level 2, and we have a total of 4 questions in level 3. So again, like in all of the other sections, we will have to report, or we will have to say a yes or a partial yes to all of the questions in level 1, and only then will we be given access to your level 2 and 3 questions. So coming to the very first question here, it is on staff responsible. Are 1 or more employees at your facility responsible for conducting your facility's environmental management activities? So here you are expected to report on what is the team that you have, what is the time that they allocate for the the environmental activities. Who is the person responsible for maybe water in your facility? Who is the person responsible for energy? Do you have one single contact for all of the environmental activities? Do you have a cross-functional team? So this is the intent of the question. And the intent also is here is that the brands to whom you will be sharing your module recognize the fact that you have allocated resources for the environmental activities that are happening at your facility. And here again, you can see the staff who should be involved. You should ideally have the EMS team lead, the quality in charge, your production in charge, your purchase personnel who is in charge of purchasing goods, etc., who is involved, the ETP manager, and also the chemicals in charge. So all of them should be involved in your environmental management system. It should be a cross-functional team, so that there is a good involvement, there is a good communication of an exchange of information, especially from maybe the production department to the purchase department to the chemicals department, etc., so that whatever are the process flows that are happening within the facility is smooth. And also the stores who should be involved. The next question is on EMS strategy. Here, the question is, does your facility have a company environmental strategy that guides long-term decision-making on environmental management? And ideally, a good long-term strategy should be at least 3+ years into the future, and it should include goals. It should address your facility's significant environmental impacts. And here a separate question is there, which is question number 3 on your aspects and impacts. But basically your strategy should also be looking into what are the main aspects and impacts that are there because of your manufacturing activities, and how are you addressing this is what should be looked into. It should definitely be supported by the facilities leadership. It should be communicated to all of the employees, and the strategy should also ideally be aligned with ISO 14001. Again, Higg FEM does not make it mandatory that you have ISO 14001. It is only an alignment which is recommended because the 14001 has a very good framework. And if you are able to develop your own environmental management system on the basis of this framework, this will also suffice. Next, we come to our question 3, which is on identifying impacts. So the question here is, has your facility identified the significant environmental impacts associated with the current operations within the factory premises? So here we have given you a video which will show you the manner in which you will be able to gather your aspects and impacts and kind of report on them. And you would get this when you get this presentation. In the interest of time, unfortunately, I will not go into the video, but you can please take a look at it when we are sending this presentation to you. Coming to question number 4 and 5. Your question 4 is on monitoring of environmental permits. So here the question is, does your site have a program or system in place to review and monitor your environmental permit status and renewal when appropriate, where appropriate, and ensure compliance? So the intent of this question here is that as a facility, you should be aware of when your permits are expiring, who is responsible for the renewal of your permits, and what is the process that you have in place in order to ensure that you are having a good renewal, seamless renewal mechanism within the facility. So that is the intent of the question. And when we are looking at also question 5, it is also similar. This is with regard to the laws, regulations, and the standards. And the question here again is, does your facility maintain a documented system to identify, monitor, and periodically verify all laws, regulations, standards, codes, and other legislative and regulatory requirements for your significant environmental impacts? So this again, you should have documented procedures which you are able to show as evidence to the verifier. And we have here given you a template which you will be able to go into to understand the manner in which you would be able to maintain this in your system. Here is an example. This is a set of resources which Higg FEM has provided, and this is the link that we have also shown you. On this link, actually, you have a number of different resources. You will have to go scroll right down to the bottom of the page to access the permits template tracking record that you will be able to maintain. Next, we come to the last question in level 1, which is on equipment maintenance. And this is actually a simple question, and most of the units are already, conducting some type of equipment maintenance on site. So the question here is, does your facility have a process and schedule to maintain all equipment? And ideally, you should have you should be able to show the record of what is the how is it that you as a facility are maintaining the maintenance schedule. What are the total number of equipment, who is responsible, at what frequency do you check this equipment, when is the last checked date of a particular equipment. All of this information you should be able to provide to the verifier who is coming on site for checking this information. So this is with regard to question number 6. And next we go to level 2. And here in level 2, what we had understood is there are 2 questions in level 2. And level 2 is an important section where we are going beyond the tracking of the information. So all of our level 1 questions are tracking questions. Level 2 are where we are doing our target setting and where we are doing our improvements, baselining, etc. So in level 2, Higg FEM asks you for the environmental management section. It asks you, does your facility review the environmental management strategy with your facility managers each calendar year? And this is important. It is important because you have to look at whatever is the data that you are generating on a regular basis and set your strategy for your improvements. And you would require to show records of what are the MRMs that you have had, management review meetings that you have had, who all have been involved, what have been the decisions that have been taken in such a management review meeting, at what frequency do you have these kind of management review meetings, etc. would require to be shown as evidence to the verifier when you are going to be saying a yes to this question. Our next question is on employee technical competence. And here the question is, do employees at your facility responsible for environmental management have the technical competence to do their job? So the technical competence could be in the form of any type of environmental certifications that they hold. It could be, maybe 14,001 auditor kind of a certification. They could have passed out from a university, from a sustainability related field where they have done certain courses with regard to environmental management, with regard to energy management, etc. So these are the competencies that you would require to highlight and show when you are saying a yes on the platform to this particular question. Next, we come to level 3 questions. So in your level 3 questions, there are again 4 questions in level 3 here for the environmental management system. Here we have the first question, which is on employee awareness. So we saw that that level 1 are tracking, level 2 are the monitoring, the target setting, the goal setting, etc. And level 3 is where we are going above and beyond what is actually required. And here the question is, does your facility promote awareness of the environmental strategy to employees, and how do they do it? So there are many different ways in which you would be able to promote the engagement. That is, you would be able to, perhaps if you have billboards, you would be able to show what is your environmental policy. Let us say you are looking at a target where you're wanting to reduce the energy consumption. Maybe you have billboards within the facility where you are putting up and saying that this is the quantity of energy that was reduced or that has been saved perhaps in last month, and that is an information that you want all of them to have. So there are many ways in which you will be able to raise awareness of whatever are the strategies that you want to implement in each of your facilities with regards to the environment. Next, we come to question 10 on engaging subcontractors. Here again, this is a not applicable also question. So depending on whether you have subcontractors or not, you can decide to go in for this particular question. The question is, does your facility monitor, evaluate, and engage with the subcontractors on the environmental performance using the Higg index? So let us say you have 5 different subcontractors. Maybe you give your printing orders to these subcontractors. You would require to show from the accounts department a list of subcontractors whom you are approaching on a regular basis for a particular year. For 2022, let us say there are 5 different subcontractors with whom you have gone. You would require to also show how you have engaged with them, requested them to come and answer the Higg FEM questions and get a score and share that with you. So this is how you would be able to say a yes to this question in case you are engaging with subcontractors. For those facilities who don't have subcontractors, you have an option where you can say that this question is not applicable. So this question then will not be scored for you. Next, you have question 11, which is on local engagement. Does your facility engage in environmental improvement in your local context is the question here. And when we are saying local context, it could be many different ways in which you have local engagements. Let us say there is a river basin which you are trying to clean up and improve. You can be a part of that. If let us say that you are doing certain charities in the area, you can try and say that. If you are looking at perhaps there is a wetland area which you are trying to revive in a particular area, you can say that. So there are many different ways in which you can have local engagements. And the point here again is, because you are in level 3, because you have gone above and beyond what are your normal regulations, you have to show an engagement of how you have done it. So ideally, you should maintain a record of how you have kept the information, what are the stakeholders with whom you have engaged, and when exactly during the year have you engaged with them, and what are, like if there are paper cuttings of articles, you can maintain that. If there are newspaper articles which have come out because of certain charities that you have done, you can maintain that. So those are the evidences that you will show for this particular question. And next we have the very last question in the environmental management system, which is on engaging upstream suppliers. So here the question is, does your facility monitor, evaluate, and engage with your upstream suppliers using the Higg index? So here your upstream suppliers are all of your raw material suppliers. Let's say you're taking fabric from a particular vendor, you're taking yarn from a particular vendor, you're taking chemicals from a particular vendor. So all of these are your upstream suppliers. And here you are expected that you have engagements with these suppliers in reporting on how you have engaged with them. Perhaps you have requested that they also start to complete their self-assessment on the Higg FEM platform, and you are engaging with them. You are then maybe having a scorecard with the help of which you are saying these are the suppliers who would be your ideal partners as a facility, because they have a certain level of a score, or perhaps because they have shown interest and they have also engaged with you on the Higg index. So Higg index, like any other sustainability platform, we are not in a position where we are going to be sustainable just by ourselves. So when we are trying to be sustainable, we have to ensure that the partners whom we partner with are also sustainable. And that is why this question is important to us. So that comes to the last question from our section that we will be discussing today. And let me just take the question and answer section. I had one question which I had missed from Christina, which was question 10. Does your facility monitor, evaluate, and engage with subcontractors on their, in 2022, you have uploaded the trainings that I have made in 22 for 2021. The verifier said that the trainings for subcontractors should be made also in 21. How should I proceed this year? So ideally, this is an ongoing process that you will have on how you have engaged with your subcontractors, etc. So you should, be maintaining the records of whatever are the training sessions, and for the reporting year is what you would require to show on how you have evaluated the subcontractors. So you have to, yes, attach the trainings that have been made also in 2022. Okay, now, then we come down to the other questions that are there. At question 2 from EMS, does your facility have a company environmental strategy that guides long-term decision making? We have a long-term covering 2020 to 2023. Is it okay, or the strategy should cover the period starting the year of filling in? Yes, this is a good question. So your strategy should be something that is reviewed every year. So, and that is why the management system, you have a question 2, you have in level 2, your first question is whether you are having this strategy review, so when you are having the review, you should not be keeping only the 2020 baselines and proceeding ahead. So you should have a fresh perspective, or 3+ years from the time you have had your last MRM is what you would ideally should have when you're considering the environmental strategy. So, a strategy document should not be a document which is made and then kept away. The aspect impact analysis should be updated based on changes in operation. Is there any minimum frequency expected for updating the aspect impact? Yes, the frequency expectation is at least once every year. All of the documents, whatever is there in your environmental management system, should be reviewed every year. And these are not documents which should be just made and kept aside for maybe taking off next time the verifier is coming into the facility. These are living documents which in any management system we have to keep updating them, and ideally in a management system we should align the management system with the business strategy. So that when we are saying, let's just say the business strategy is that we want to be net zero by 2030. That is your end goal. So then we have to break it up into smaller strategies that we will be able to do. Within maybe the environmental management system, you then say by 2024, this is the level that I'm going to reduce. By 2026, this is the level that I'm going to reduce. This is how you would require to align that. And minimum, definitely once a year, you should have a update of all the documents that you are maintaining in your environmental management system. And so also for the aspect impact analysis. Yes, you will definitely get the study material on email. We will be sharing it with you. How can we calculate KPI of our technical employee who are engaged in our EMS scope? So the KPIs will have to be set by the HR team for each of the employees who are there in the facility. So let us say there is a person who is responsible for energy. He can be given a key performance indicator, which is saying that he has to work towards reducing the energy consumption in a particular department by 5% by a particular period of time. So maybe it is the end of the year, and then you review whether he has actually been able to implement practices which have been able to reduce the energy consumption or not. So this is again something the HR team will require to get involved in order to understand what is each of their technical employees, what are their KPIs. For subcontractor engagement, not all subcontractors that certify Higg FEM, so should answer partial yes. Is that correct? You would have actually required to show that there is engagement that has been done. Maybe not all of them have said a yes. If it is not, if everyone have not engaged with you via the Higg index, you can also answer a partial yes to that question. Akanksha is asking, do you need to upload records for every question? We answer a yes. Yes, we would require to have. By the way, on the platform, you don't have to upload records for every single question. You can show it to the verifier when he is coming to the facility. Remember, when you're sharing your module, you will actually see the person to whom you are sharing the module, the brand or the contractor, subcontractor, etc., will be able to see all of these documents. So if there are any confidential documents that you don't want to share, you should not have them uploaded. You can show them directly to the verifier, but you will definitely need to keep these as evidences on the basis of which you are answering a question as a yes or a no. Next is, if a facility has embroidery capacity of 500 pieces per month, but it needs embroidery of 1,000 pieces, it will send the extra 500 to another facility. Will the second facility be subcontractor for the first facility? Yes, it depends on who is taking the order. If that is so, then definitely the second the other contractor to whom the 500 other pieces have gone is a subcontractor to the first facility. Our factory, no ISO 14001. Can I write ISO 14001 2015 in strategy top page? See, if you are maintaining your own management system and if you're maintaining the documents, even though you don't have a certification, you can still say that you have an environmental management system in place. But it depends completely on how involved and how detailed your management system is. If you would like to keep ISO 14001 and not certify to it, that is also fine. But there should be a good system in place which you will be able to show, and which the verifier, when he is coming on site, he or she would definitely be checking on that. Is it mandatory for upstream suppliers to do Higg FEM? Higg FEM is not mandatory. It is a voluntary standard. There is a question, are subcontractors to be monitored on environmental aspects? Yes, subcontractors are to be monitored on environmental aspects. Next is a question 12. Should the factory invite its chemical suppliers for Higg FEM? Yes, you should also invite your chemical formulators and suppliers for answering on the Higg FEM platform. If upstream supplier is not willing to enter into Higg FEM, what can be the alternative way? You can show what is the engagement that you have, what are the other types of engagements that you have, with the help of which you are monitoring the facility. So I guess that is all of it. And there are some other questions where they are requesting if we will get the presentation. Yes, definitely. This will be shared. So we have now come to the end of our session, and I would like to now show you the locations where we are actively engaged. These are all our verifiers and trainers who are there in our markets. We have personnel in Bangladesh, in Tunisia, in Turkey, Indonesia, China as well, Vietnam, and Romania, and also Pakistan. And this is a link that's been provided to all of their email IDs should you want to connect with any of them. And we have many different other webinars also, which are coming up as a part of the series. So this is a page where you can go and register for all of the other webinar sessions as well. And I'm very thankful to all of you for having participated in our training session. And we would like to give you a training and a verification offer. Please contact us. All our contact details are mentioned on these slides here. And should we be able to help you improve in any way, it will be an honor for us to be partnering with you and setting up these engagements. And this is our team behind us who have been actively working in the markets and providing a lot of value. Thank you for attending this session, and I wish you a good day. Thank you.